Hey friends and book lovers, welcome back. As the title suggests, this video is a tag, and it is the Popular Opinions tag created by Abby Salter, and I will link all of her information down below. I was tagged by Joanna from Joanna Sosa, and I will also link her information down below. They are two wonderful booktubers that you should definitely check out if you haven't already. So I know that Abby made this tag to reflect the Unpopular Opinions tag and to bring a little bit more positivity here on BookTube. And after recent events, I think that we could all use a little bit more positivity as well. So this tag has about 9 questions, and I will be starting off with question number 1. A popular book or series that you love. So there are a few that I have loved and discovered over the last little while. I think the one that I talk about the most is likely the Broken Earth series by N.K. Jemisin. That was really what got me back into reading fantasy heavily a few years back. And the other series that I discovered recently, I'd say a few months back, is the A Court of Thorns and Roses series, and I absolutely adore that series. If you know me, you know that I love it, and I've recently become very obsessed with it. So that has a special place in my heart, and I'm just looking over there because it's my other bookshelf and that's where those books sit. So I absolutely adore those series. I feel like A Court of Thorns and Roses is a very fun fantasy romance, fantastical series, and the Broken Earth series is very deep and complex and very rooted almost in our own science, but takes it to the fantasy level. So I really, really love those two. And those would be my favorites, I would say, for series. The second question is an underhyped book that you love and wish were more popular. And I've said this before, especially with my top 5 books of 2020. My top book was Space Between Worlds by Micaiah Johnson, and I don't think that's talked about enough on BookTube. That book is spectacular. It is so good. It's so easy to read, but also it's so complex, and there are just so many twists and turns within it and different layers of the book and the story and the characters that you peel back the more you read the book. And I think that's absolutely fantastic. It's fast-paced, it's a standalone, it's sci-fi, it's chef's kiss. Number 3 is a romance that you love, and thank you, Abby. That's a great question. I've been getting more into fantasy romance recently, especially after reading A Court of Thorns and Roses, and I recently read From Blood and Ash, and I really love Poppy and Hawk. I think they're very cute together. I also love the bromance between Hawk and Kieran, so I'm gonna add that one in there. One of my favorite romances of all time in fantasy romance is definitely Nesta and Cassian. I love Cassian. I think he's like the cutest little lethal cinnamon roll ever, and I relate a lot to Nesta, so I really like seeing a character that I relate to with a wonderful, awesome lethal cinnamon roll. So I love them so much, and those are the two that I think I would pick for my favorites. Question number 4 is your favorite genre and a subgenre that you would like to read more of. So as you already know, my favorite genre is fantasy. That's what I read the most of. That's what I spend my time looking up, researching new books for. That's what you're gonna see on my TBRs, on my wrap-ups, on my hauls. It's gonna be primarily fantasy. Now, in fantasy, there are definitely a couple of subgenres that I'm either discovering or would like to dive into more. One of those I mentioned earlier, and that is the fantasy romance subgenre. I recently discovered that I really do love having a fantastical world with a really amazing plot, really amazing world building, and a nice romance subplot. I feel like it gets my blood moving, and it makes me more interested in the book sometimes, especially when there's higher stakes where romance or affection is involved. I'm trying to get more into that subgenre, and I'm really excited. There are some really good recommendations out there in BookTube, and I definitely have some authors that I'm already looking into. And the second subgenre that I want to get more into is the grimdark subgenre. I've read some books that have touches of grimdark, I would say, but probably don't go there all the way, and I'm very intrigued to find out exactly how far those books will go, and I think for the most part I'll probably be okay with it and enjoy it, especially because some of the TV shows that I watch are really dark and really gory and really violent. Not all of them. I'm not totally dark and twisted on the inside, but there is definitely a lot that I do watch, and I think that I would enjoy some of those books. So I'll likely start off with the first Law trilogy by Joe Abercrombie to get my feet wet with grimdark. That has come highly recommended from people that love and read grimdark, so I feel fairly confident that I will enjoy that, and I look forward to reading it. The fifth question really stumped me. I wasn't sure what to include, and I felt like all my answers had already fulfilled this question and had already gotten all their love, because the fifth question is a popular or beloved character that you love, or a character that you feel deserves more love. So many of the characters that I mentioned before deserve so much more love, but then they got that love in terms of books written with their point of views in mind. One of them would be Cassian. I absolutely adore him, and I love that we got to learn more about him. I also really enjoy Nesta. I don't know if she deserves more love, but I definitely feel like she deserves more understanding, and I think we got that with A Court of Silver Flames, which recently just came out in February. So that was great. I will say one character that I think deserves a little more love is Luke in The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue. I mean, I know he's a villain, but I'm always rooting for the villainous, morally gray characters in books. I think that they're so much more interesting than your just good or bad character, and he is definitely someone that I would consider morally gray. And you know what? The devil deserves more love anyways, right? Finally, I would say that Loki deserves more love just because I love him, and he's mischievous and sassy and fiery and just a total trickster and the most entertaining of them all to watch. The sixth question is an auto by author. Now, judging on my favorite series, I feel like that answer is fairly obvious. So N.K. Jemisin, Sarah J. Maas, and then I will also add Namina Forna. She wrote The Gilded Ones, and I read that earlier this year. I did a review on it, so if you guys haven't seen it and would like to, it is a why you should read it, because it is just so good, and I really enjoyed it for what it was. I look forward to seeing how she completes the trilogy, I think it's gonna be, and so I would consider her auto buy, because I'm definitely gonna buy the next book that she puts out. And I really enjoyed her writing style and the way that she wove her story. So number 7 is one that I want to do a longer video about down the line and explain myself more, but it is a popular trope that you love. And I hate to categorize exactly what I love, but it's so true that so many of the books that I enjoy have these tropes in them. I am a huge sucker for the chosen one trope, and I blame it on reading the Wheel of Time series at a very young age, and that definitely has the chosen one trope. I'm also a sucker, I've recently discovered, for the found family trope. I really enjoyed reading that in the Equitar series. I really enjoyed reading that in other books, and I just feel like books that have the found family trope give me that like warm and fuzzy feeling, and it's just a wonderful way to get into a book and feel comforted by a book, and I just love that. In the romance subgenre, I probably say that I do really enjoy the whole mate fated to be trope. I know that's unrealistic in real life, so I keep that in mind when I read it, but I do really enjoy reading about two people that are mated or supposed to fall in love and all the reasons that that would or should happen. So that is always fun for me. The 8th question is a popular series that you're excited to read, and for me, honestly, it is The Faithful and the Fallen. I have read Malice and I really enjoyed it. I was supposed to read Valor last month, but I didn't get to it, so I'm hoping to get to the rest of the series in the next coming months because they are so fun. And I recently discovered that John Gwynn's writing is just so smooth and definitely a writing style that really works well for me, and I really enjoy. I'm also starting the City of Brass series, and I'm really excited because it is so beloved, and so many different folks from different reading backgrounds have all really enjoyed it. And another one that is praised by people of all different reading backgrounds, reading genres, etc. is the Farseer trilogy by Robin Hobb. I do have this sneaking suspicion that I have read this in my younger years and just don't remember it. So I'm wondering, once I reread it or read it for the first time perhaps, if I'll remember anything or if I'll remember that I just didn't read it. Because I have discovered that I have found some old school 90s cover like deliciousness Robin Hobb books in my older bookcases. So I think I might have already read this one, but either way, I'm excited to get back into it. The 9th question is a hard one for me, and it is a popular book and film where you loved the story in both formats. I don't usually read or watch a story in both formats, because if I watch a story in the film format, I won't be able to go back and read the book. It's just, I won't be able to imagine anything anymore. I'll feel like I'm reading the script or the movie and it won't be as fun for me. So I end up having to read the series of the book before I watch the show or the movie. Like with The Help, I watched the movie after I've read the book, and then with the Shadow and Bone trilogy and 6 of Crows, I'm reading those before the series comes out because I know if it comes out and I watch it, I won't be able to read the books, and I really want to read the books and see what everyone is talking about. Same thing with Discovery of Witches. I have held off for so long watching that show because I have the trilogy and I will not watch the show until I finish the trilogy. So I don't have examples of that because it's rare that happens to me, but I guess coming up with series that are going to be adapted and books that will be adapted, I'll be seeing more of that, maybe doing comparison videos to see if I prefer the book or the movie and if there's really huge differences between the two. So maybe those will come at you in the future. So that's it for this tag. It was really quick, it was really fun, and I thank Abby for trying to spread more positivity on BookTube because I think more positivity is always a good thing. In terms of folks being tagged, I feel like everyone has been tagged for this, but I'm going to see, I don't think, who should I tag? So hopefully y'all haven't been already tagged, and if you have been tagged, this is just a reminder to do it. And if you've been tagged and you've done a video and I've watched your video, I'm sorry. I have watched so many different iterations of this book tag and I love them all. I'm gonna tag Kristen from Read Red Wine. I'm gonna tag Lyra from Lyra Bat. I'm gonna tag Leslie from The Nerdy Narrative if she hasn't done it, but I feel like she's already done it, so maybe not. Well, if you haven't done it, you should do it, Leslie. Who else should I tag? I want to tag one more person. And you know what? I'm gonna tag Jordan from It's a Hardback Life. He just tagged me in one of his videos, so I feel like I'll return the favor. And if he hasn't been tagged or hasn't done it, then he should definitely do this tag. So I hope that you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, please click the like button. That helps support my channel and it helps me out a lot. And if you like this video and you want to see more content, you should definitely subscribe.